We met like 6 times. Malchemical. Make deadly gases.
We're 5 episodes into the final season of The Boys, and honestly, I'm getting a little skeptical as to how Kripke is gonna pull off a satisfying ending. But for what it's worth, the show is finally giving some space to minor supe antagonists like Malchemical. Now, Malchemical has existed as a background or reference character since Season 2. For instance, Grace Mallory mentioned him by name in Season 2, Episode 6, noting that he once got into a fight with Frenchie and lost. Then in the next season, he was name-dropped as the DJ hired for the Dawn of the 7 premiere afterparty, and he was also there in the background crowd in the Herogasm episode. This is something he confirms in the recent episode of the show when he tells Soldier Boy that he was there and witnessed the latter's radioactive blast. Finally, he made his proper physical debut in this episode, One Shots, and Misha Collins did a pretty good job at it. However, the makers deserve greater credit for digging so deep into the comics that they actually came up with supes as obscure as Malchemical. So without any further delay, let's check out who he was in the comics and his story unfolded in Innis hands. Malchemical's entire arc played out in just one storyline of the Boys comics, namely The Innocents, which ran from issue 40 to 43. Right at the beginning of The Innocents, we see a group of superheroes known as the Super Duper, which was basically a team of young supes with useless powers and was based in the suburbs of New Jersey. But how or why dysfunctional, you may ask? The members of this group had supe names like Stool Shadow, Auntie Sis, and Bobby Badooing. I guess you get the drift now. Malchemical was appointed the leader of this team, and we see them discussing his estimated arrival. Of course, no VOD American supe team is out of Butcher's radar, so he tasked Huey with Super Duper, which according to Butcher is a C-list team VOD has kept around only for the nostalgia market. And once Huey opens the file, we see Malchemical for the first time. He has this smug, somewhat wicked smile and a certain cruelty on his face, which makes him come off as extremely unsettling. But one thing you can't miss is how his face and entire body are split in halves, with one side showing a normal skin tone and the other larger area of his face divided into almost 3 colors: a purplish tint, a bright orange in the middle, and a shade of gray. Add bright orange hair and a green suit with a skull and crossbones symbol on the chest, you got Malchemical. The fact that Malchemical was sent to take over Super Duper was a little weird because, according to Butcher, the team's image is like 100% sweetness, and Malchemical is one of the worst people in spandex. Now, when Malchemical actually arrives at the Super Duper group house, the young supes throw him a welcome party with banners, balloons, and cake, and enthusiastically attempt to introduce everyone to him. But Malchemical couldn't care less. In fact, he's dismissive of them from the very beginning, and downright disrespectful too. The excited supes, however, do not mind his arrogance, as they've never really had a leader before, and with Malchemical as their boss, they're just excited to go out on missions. Malchemical makes fun of them, and finally joins the Super Duper on a patrol, where he firstly doesn't help Bobby during an emergency, and secondly says some really harsh and nasty words to them. This is when Huey sees him and realizes what a sick man Malchemical was. Finally, when Auntie Sis asks him what was the real reason behind him leading Super Duper, Malchemical spills the tea, and we get to know about his powers a little bit too. He's a supe who can change shape, form, and chemical composition. Basically, he has the ability to turn into anyone and any element. He tells her that he wanted to sleep with his previous team, Team Titanic's leader's girlfriend, so he took the team leader shape and actually slept with her. He then tells some questionable details about the intercourse, which actually turns out to be the reason Malchemical got exposed, when she was getting intimate with her real boyfriend. Auntie Sis is, however, unimpressed by this flamboyant storytelling and tells him that she knows what kind of a dirty person he is, but the kiddo supes in Super Duper are nothing like him. They're actually innocent and want to use their powers in doing whatever good they can, so she low-key warns him that the Super Duper doesn't need to be exposed to Malchemical's repulsive lifestyle. Huey soon becomes pals with the Super Duper members after saving Black Hole, who swallowed a spoon while eating ice cream, and they know him as Hamish. Of course, Huey and Malchemical start arguing over the latter's nature, and Malchemical warns Huey of what he can do to him. On the other hand, Auntie Sis and Malchemical's relationship is getting worse, and the woman, in fact, informed Vought about Malchemical's abusive behavior toward the teammates and warned him that she knows he's here as a punishment. Vought has actually put him on probation and was making a report on him, so one bad review from Auntie Sis could potentially ruin his career. But wait, Malchemical is a sick bastard who just can't be polite, and to get back at Auntie Sis, he shapeshifts into Bobby and tricks her into telling him her secret, which had to do with her huge underpants. Yeah, nothing in this world is normal. Now, Malchemical actually shapeshifts into Auntie Sis's trauma, the giant panties, and actually covers her underneath it. He then threatens the others to not even try and pull anything to save her, or inform Vought, and transforms into this grotesque, monstrous thing. He's ready to sexually harass harass the rest of the Super Duper members when Huey steps in and punches Malchemical, only to hurt his own fist. Malchemical changes his arm into a tentacle, puts it inside Huey's mouth, and breaks a couple of his teeth. He then continues to shapeshift and becomes gas while screaming, "I'm gas, I'm gas," and then suddenly into a huge limbed monster with spikes on them. He has a gala time playing his game of changing forms and beating Huey into a pulp when Butcher finally intervenes, lights his lighter, and sets Malchemical's gaseous form on fire. Finally, the end of Malchemical's reign of terror. The show, however, gave a completely new turn to Malchemical. He's introduced as one of Mr. Marathon's closest friends, who tries to remind Homelander that they met earlier. Of course, Homelander doesn't have time for petty soups like him, and Malchemical actually takes offense to that. When Homelander decides to walk away from all the arguing and petty yelling going on among Marathon's friends, Malchemical steps in and stops him, and releases the greenish toxic gas, which actually knocks Homelander out. After that, Mr. Marathon, Malchemical, and the rest of the group try to push Soldier Boy into using his radiation blast to finish Homelander off, but instead, Soldier Boy grabs Malchemical by the neck and snaps it without much effort, killing him right there. Ouch. Alright guys, that's all for today. Malchemical did have a nastier arc in the comics, and Kripke just slightly touched upon them by making Misha deliver lines like, "They want to ban porn." But I wish we get to see some more of him. You know, someone who actually helped the boys go against Homelander, because he clearly hated him and clearly had the power to put him off guard, at least momentarily. Anyway, I guess we have to make peace with what we got. Jump into the comics and let us know your thoughts about Malchemical, and if you like this video, do hit the bell icon. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!